Do you have children?
Well, we have 3 little boys, but they're trapped inside cat bodies.
Meow. Yeah, they're cats.
Meow, 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 meow.
After years of shouting matches and unforgettable television, Gordon Ramsay is finally opening up. At 59, the world-famous chef pulls back the curtain on why kitchen nightmares suddenly vanished. And the truth isn't what fans expected. Behind the chaos were decisions, pressures, and moments that pushed everything too far. As Ramsay reflects, admiration mixes with unease, and nostalgia turns darker. So, was the show truly helping restaurants, or was something breaking behind the scenes? What forced Ramsay to walk away, and why does the answer still sting today? The hidden cost of saving restaurants that didn't want to be saved. What viewers saw on screen was a story of hope, tense confrontations, dramatic makeovers, emotional apologies, and uplifting music that promised a fresh start. Each episode ended with smiles, hugs, and the feeling that another struggling restaurant had been rescued just in time. But what audiences didn't see was the much heavier truth unfolding behind the cameras, a truth far less hopeful and far more painful. Despite all the effort, passion, and expertise Gordon Ramsay poured into these businesses, most of them didn't survive. The reality was brutal. More than 80% of the American restaurants featured on Kitchen Nightmares eventually closed their doors for good. For viewers, those closures were just statistics mentioned years later. For Gordon, they were personal wounds. This wasn't a TV character yelling for entertainment. Gordon wasn't pretending. He showed up fully invested, mentally, emotionally, and professionally. He put his name, his reputation, and his heart on the line every single time. He believed that if people were willing to change, they could be saved. So when restaurant after restaurant failed after he left, it felt like watching his hard work crumble. Even when the causes were beyond his control, the losses still felt like his responsibility. What made it even harder was what happened once the cameras stopped rolling. Many owners promised change on screen, but those promises didn't last. Kitchens that had been scrubbed spotless slowly slipped back into chaos. Fresh menus were quietly replaced with the same old failing dishes. Staff training was ignored. Systems that were meant to bring structure and discipline were abandoned. The excitement of transformation faded, and old habits returned almost immediately. In some cases, the truth was even more discouraging. Not everyone truly wanted help. Some owners wanted fame more than reform. They wanted attention, publicity, and a moment in the spotlight, not the long, uncomfortable work of change. Once the show moved on, so did their motivation. Others were facing problems far deeper than bad food or poor management. Addiction, depression, family conflict, and overwhelming debt were quietly shaping their decisions. These were wounds that couldn't be healed in a single week of filming. No matter how skilled Gordon was, no makeover could fix years of pain, denial, or self-destruction. The show could highlight the problems, but it couldn't always solve them. Season after season, the emotional weight began to pile up. What started as a mission to help people slowly became a source of frustration and guilt. Gordon cared deeply, and that care came at a cost. Each failed restaurant felt like another reminder that passion alone wasn't enough. The joy of saving businesses was gradually replaced by exhaustion and heartbreak. And the toll wasn't just emotional, it was physical too. Gordon later revealed that filming the show exposed him to serious health risks. Many of the kitchens he entered were dangerously unsanitary. Spoiled food, rotten ingredients, and unsafe cooking practices were common. Every tasting became a gamble. He suffered repeated cases of food poisoning, sometimes pushing through illness to keep filming. What once felt thrilling discovering hidden gems and turning chaos into order, began to feel unsafe. The very show that made him a household name was quietly wearing him down. Behind the tough exterior and fiery temper was a man growing tired, frustrated, and disillusioned. In the end, Kitchen Nightmares wasn't just about failing restaurants. It was about human resistance to change, the limits of intervention, and the heavy price of caring deeply in a world that doesn't always want to be saved. What was the defining moment that changed everything for Gordon Ramsay? What exactly happened and how? Let's find out. One restaurant, one owner, and the moment everything broke. By 2014, Gordon Ramsay thought nothing could surprise him anymore. He had spent years traveling from city to city, walking into failing kitchens, meeting stubborn owners, and tasting food that should never have left the stove. Rotten fridges, broken systems, denial, ego. He believed he had seen it all. After 7 long years of kitchen nightmares, disasters had become routine. Then he arrived at a small restaurant tucked away in a remote ski resort in southern France. And everything changed. At first, it looked like just another episode waiting to happen. The location was beautiful, the kind of place tourists dreamed of visiting. Snow-covered mountains, cozy chalets, and tired travelers looking for a warm meal after a long day on the slopes. On the surface, it felt familiar. Another struggling restaurant, another owner in trouble, another chance to fix what was broken. But the moment Gordon stepped inside, something felt wrong. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't a lack of skill. This wasn't even denial. What Gordon sensed almost immediately was far worse. This place was failing on purpose. The owner wasn't overwhelmed or clueless. He knew exactly what he was doing. The restaurant sat in a remote location where guests had no real choice. Once people arrived at the resort, there were few places to eat. If you were hungry, tired, and cold, this restaurant was often your only option. And the owner had built his entire business around that fact. The food was bad, not needs improvement bad, careless, tasteless, poorly prepared food. Prices were high, portions were small, and quality was shockingly low. Yet the owner showed no concern at all. Why would he? The customers would come anyway. They always did. As Gordon dug deeper, the truth became even clearer. Complaints didn't matter. Standards didn't matter. Pride didn't matter. The owner wasn't interested in learning, improving, or even pretending to care. He had complete control, and he used it without shame. When Gordon finally confronted him, hoping, at the very least, for honesty or regret, he was met with something colder. There was no apology, no self-reflection, no respect. Instead, the owner brushed off Gordon's advice, questioned his authority, and treated the entire situation like a joke. Worse still, he saw Gordon not as help, but as opportunity. Free publicity, free attention, a camera to boost his business without changing a single thing. That was the moment everything shifted. For Gordon Ramsay, this wasn't just frustrating. It was deeply personal. Kitchen Nightmares had always been about saving dreams, helping people who cared but were lost, fighting for standards, pride, and honesty in food. Even the toughest owners usually wanted to succeed, even if they didn't know how. But this man didn't want help. He didn't want change. And he didn't care who suffered as long as the money kept coming. That crossed a line Gordon could not ignore. The atmosphere during filming grew darker by the day. Conversations went in circles. Advice was rejected before it was finished. Every attempt to help felt useless. The tension wasn't dramatic, it was draining. There was no breakthrough waiting around the corner, no redemption arc. Just a wall of greed and indifference. Then, one morning, Gordon woke up, and everything became painfully clear. He was done, not just with that restaurant, but with the show itself. 7 years of fighting battles like this had finally caught up with him. He realized he was spending his energy trying to fix people who didn't want to be fixed. Standing in kitchens where pride was dead. Defending values that others openly mocked. Continuing no longer felt noble. It felt wrong. For Gordon, carrying on meant compromising his beliefs as a chef, a businessman, and a person. It meant pretending that every situation could be saved, even when it clearly couldn't. And that was something he refused to do. That moment of clarity led to a decision no one saw coming. A decision that stunned viewers, producers, and the television world itself. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it was final, and it marked the end of an era and the beginning of one of the most shocking moments in television history. When and how did he rise to become a legend? What reputation did he build for himself? Let's delve into the details of the rise that no one saw coming. From culinary genius to television legend, before Kitchen Nightmares became a worldwide phenomenon, Gordon Ramsay was already a giant in the food world. Long before the shouting, the memes, and the viral clips, he had earned a reputation as a serious chef, one who demanded excellence and refused to accept mediocrity. Inside professional kitchens, his name carried weight. He was known for discipline, precision, and extremely high standards. Many respected him, some feared him, but becoming a television superstar was never part of his life plan. That all began to change in 2004, almost by accident. A small British television project tried something bold and unfamiliar. What if struggling restaurants were pushed to their limits by one of the toughest chefs alive? The idea was risky. Cameras would follow Gordon Ramsay into restaurants that were already falling apart, places drowning in debt, confusion, and lost dreams. Instead of gentle advice, the owners would face the blunt truth. That quiet experiment would later become Kitchen Nightmares, a show that reshaped reality television. At its heart, the formula looked simple. The food was bad. The kitchens were dirty. The systems didn't work. The staff had lost pride. Owners were overwhelmed, stubborn, or simply exhausted. Into this chaos walked Gordon Ramsay, sharp-tongued, passionate, and completely unwilling to sugarcoat reality. He tasted the food, inspected the kitchens, questioned the staff, and confronted the owners. Excuses were torn apart. Denial was challenged. Weak leadership was exposed. But what truly pulled viewers in wasn't just watching restaurants improve. It was watching Gordon Ramsay himself. He was raw and intense, but also deeply human. "Yes," he shouted. "Yes," he swore. But beneath the fire was something else. Care. He cared about standards. He cared about pride in one's work. He cared about people taking responsibility for their choices. And when someone finally listened, when they showed effort and honesty, he softened. Those moments revealed that his anger wasn't random cruelty. It was frustration with wasted potential. Audiences quickly realized they weren't just watching a cooking show. They were watching broken systems being repaired. Families were arguing. Business partners were barely speaking. Chefs had given up. Servers felt ignored. Kitchens reflected the emotional mess behind the scenes. Gordon didn't just fix menus. He forced people to face uncomfortable truths about leadership, teamwork, and accountability. That made the show feel real. In 2007, Kitchen Nightmares crossed the Atlantic and arrived in the United States. That was when everything changed. American television had never seen anything quite like it. The confrontations were louder, the emotions were bigger, the failures were deeper. Viewers were instantly hooked. They tuned in not just for food makeovers, but for the drama, the arguments, the tears, and the sudden breakthroughs. Every episode felt unpredictable. Ratings climbed fast. Awards followed. Gordon Ramsay became more than a chef. He became a cultural figure. His face, voice, and temper were everywhere. People quoted him, parodied him, feared him, admired him. Kitchen Nightmares dominated reality TV for 7 straight years, becoming one of the most talked-about shows of its time. Outwardly, it was pure success. Hit shows, global fame, dramatic rescues, and happy endings on screen. Off-camera, another reality grew. Relentless pressure, conflict, and expectations. While Kitchen Nightmares fixed failing restaurants, the unseen toll of sustaining constant success was quietly testing the man behind the brand at its peak moment. Away from the cameras, who is Gordon Ramsay? What kind of life does he live? What are his personal struggles like? Let's dive into the details of Gordon Ramsay's life away from the camera. Behind the fire. Gordon Ramsay's life away from the cameras is just as layered and compelling as the fiery personality viewers see on television. At the heart of his story is his family, a central pillar that has shaped his personal choices, lifestyle, and even his approach to his demanding career. In 1996, Ramsay married Tana Hutchison, a woman whose background contrasts interestingly with his own high-pressure world. Tana is a Montessori-trained schoolteacher, grounded in child development, patience, and structured learning. While Gordon built his reputation in loud, fast, and intense kitchens, Tana's professional life centered on nurturing young minds with calm and care. This balance between intensity and gentleness has long been seen as one of the quiet strengths of their marriage. Over the years, their union has grown into a large and close-knit family, blessed with 6 children, each carving out a distinct path in life. The Ramsay family splits their time between 2 major cities on opposite sides of the Atlantic. They live partly in Los Angeles, surrounded by the energy of Hollywood and the American food scene, and partly in the Wandsworth common area of London, a quieter, family-friendly neighborhood. This dual lifestyle reflects Gordon's global career, while also showing the family's effort to remain grounded despite fame and wealth. Their children, in particular, highlight how diverse and independent the Ramsay household has become. Tilly Ramsay has followed most closely in her father's footsteps, becoming a television chef and presenter in her own right. With her confident presence on screen and growing culinary skills, she represents a new generation shaped by, but not overshadowed by, her father's legacy. Megan Ramsay chose a very different route, dedicating herself to public service. As of 2023, she works with the Metropolitan Police, a role that demands discipline, responsibility, and resilience. Jack Ramsay embraced an equally demanding path, serving as a Royal Marines Commando, a position that reflects strength, courage, and commitment to national service. Holly Ramsay, on the other hand, has found her voice in the creative world, building a career as a fashion designer and blogger, blending personal style with modern digital influence. Together, the children paint a picture of a family that values independence, purpose, and hard work. Behind the scenes of Ramsay's success, however, were moments of serious challenge and controversy. For many years, until 2010, his father-in-law, Chris Hutchison, played a key role in managing the business side of Ramsay's restaurant empire. He was trusted with overseeing operations and helping the brand grow into a global powerhouse. That trust, however, was later shattered. On 7th June 2017, Hutchison was sentenced to 6 months in prison for conspiring to illegally access computer systems linked to the Ramsay's business interests. The case revealed that he, along with his sons, had accessed company systems nearly 2,000 times over several months between October 2010 and March 2011. The scandal marked a painful chapter for the family, blending betrayal, legal trouble, and public scrutiny into what was already a high-profile life. Gordon Ramsay's success shows in his £11 million property portfolio across Cornwall, including luxury homes in Trebetherick, Rock, and Fowey. Beyond wealth, his life reflects family, resilience, and balance, managing global fame while navigating personal challenges, trust, and aspirations beyond celebrity headlines. Is Gordon Ramsay able to cope after canceling kitchen nightmares? Does he have plans on a bounce back? Let's find out. Walking away, failing forward, and returning with a new purpose. Gordon Ramsay didn't walk away from kitchen nightmares because the show was dying. In fact, the ratings were still strong, and the audience was still watching. The network wasn't pressuring him. There was no dramatic boardroom fight or secret cancellation memo. Instead, something far more surprising happened. Gordon himself made the call. One day, he picked up the phone and told Fox he was done. The executives were shocked. This was one of their most successful shows, built around Ramsay's fiery personality and brutal honesty. Surely this was burnout, they thought. Maybe he just needed a break. They offered time off, shorter seasons, fewer episodes, and even changes to the show's structure. Anything to keep it alive. Gordon said no. The problem wasn't exhaustion. It wasn't pressure. It was something deeper and more troubling. Episode after episode, he was walking into restaurants that were already doomed. Owners who refused to listen. Kitchens that ignored advice. Businesses that collapsed the moment the cameras left. His effort, his name, his reputation, it all felt wasted. He wasn't helping anymore. He was watching failure repeat itself. For someone who takes pride in excellence and accountability, that realization hurts. Gordon could no longer stand behind a system that created drama but delivered no lasting change. Continuing would have meant pretending that shouting louder could fix people who didn't want to be fixed, and Gordon Ramsay doesn't pretend. So Kitchen Nightmares ended, quietly but firmly. A chapter closed. Fox, unwilling to let go of the brand, tried again. In 2018, 24 Hours to Hell and Back was introduced as a fresh, smarter evolution. Faster turnarounds, new technology, a sleeker look. On paper, it sounded promising. But something was missing. The show felt rushed, too polished, too scripted. The heart wasn't there. Viewers felt it immediately. Instead of real transformation, it felt like television tricks wrapped in urgency. Ratings slipped. Interest faded. Once again, the formula failed. Then the world shifted in a way no one expected. When COVID-19 hit, the restaurant industry was crushed almost overnight. Dining rooms closed. Staff were laid off. Lifelong dreams collapsed under rules and restrictions no one could control. This time, restaurants weren't failing because of laziness or pride. They were failing because survival itself had become nearly impossible. For Gordon Ramsay, something changed. These owners cared. They were passionate. They were doing everything right and still losing. They didn't need humiliation. They needed support, guidance, hope. For the first time in years, the mission felt real again. So in 2023, Kitchen Nightmares returned, but it wasn't the same show. The new version focused on collaboration instead of confrontation, on progress instead of punishment. Gordon was still honest, still demanding, but noticeably different. Calmer, more thoughtful. His anger, when it appeared, had purpose again. It wasn't for television, it was for standards. Now at 58, Gordon Ramsay openly admits the truth many never expected to hear. Kitchen Nightmares didn't end because it failed. It ended because the format was broken. Walking away wasn't weakness. It was self-respect. Protecting his integrity mattered more than staying on air. Ironically, the show that helped make him a global star almost drained him completely. This time, he's trying again, but on his own terms, with clearer values, realistic goals, and people who truly want to succeed. So the question still hangs in the air. Has Kitchen Nightmares finally found the balance it was missing all along? Or is this its last chance to get it right? So, what do you think about Gordon Ramsay's revelation? Do you think he could be planning something bigger? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.